Hey guys, it's Hogan here, and in this video, I'm going to be reviewing Hostinger, one of the most affordable shared hosting providers on the market today. We're going to take a look at the speed and performance, and we're also going to compare it to some of the top shared hosting providers on the market, such as SiteGround, GoDaddy, Bluehost, HostGator, and others. And we're also going to talk about the pros as well as the negatives of Hostinger so that you can basically decide whether or not it's for you or not for you. So I'm really excited to actually do this review because I did a lot of research for you guys to actually find out which one was the best one. So on here on Hostinger's website, I've basically purchased each of the shared hosting plans, the single shared, premium shared, and business shared, and I tested it. And we also did a speed comparison as well, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But let's take a look at their plans over here. So they generally just promote the premium shared one, which is generally what I recommend for most people. But the thing that you do have to note is that for the single shared plan, to actually get that discount, you do have to select the 48-month plan, right? So to lock in the biggest discounts, generally you have to go for the longest term. So if you go month to month, then it's actually not that cheap, right? It's like $10 per month, and in a year, that's around $120 for just the single shared plan. So it's not a great deal at all. To lock in the best deal, you have to go for the longest term. So I think that sometimes might be a problem for some people, but in fact, it's actually still cheaper than a lot of shared hosting providers, which is maybe like the maximum you can get is 2 years for that price, but you get 48 months at Hostinger. So another really cool thing is that you can pay by Alipay or cryptocurrency. And something that you do have to note is that for the plans on the single shared and premium shared, they only have the weekly backups. So with the other shared hosting providers, a lot of them do actually have the daily backups, which is only available on the business shared plan on Hostinger. Now, if you do want to add that on for these plans, then it's extra dollar, I think extra 95 cents per month. So it's still really, really cheap, but you do have to add that on. So if we actually add that price on and compare it to other hosting providers, then it's still cheaper, but it becomes a little bit more comparable. And something that you do have to note is that with a lot of shared hosting providers, generally they have a really, really big sort of discount upfront, like a 75% or like an 80% discount, but then you get the renewal pricing. So even with the renewal pricing on Hostinger, it's still more competitive than other shared hosting providers. So the best thing about Hostinger is definitely going to be the price. But another really, really cool thing is that they have multiple data centers around the world, right? So with, I think Bluehost and HostGator, they only have the data centers in the United States. They do have foreign subsidiaries, which basically is like HostGator India or Bluehost India. But if you do want to change the data centers, then it's going to be a lot more difficult because you have to migrate your entire website. With Hostinger, you can actually change it inside the hosting dashboard once every 30 days for free, right? So if you decided maybe you purchased your hosting and you hosted it in maybe Netherlands, and perhaps a lot of your audience is coming from India, then you can change it to India in your dashboard really, really easily. So with GoDaddy and SiteGround, they do have multiple data centers as well. With GoDaddy, I believe you do have to pay for that. I think like an extra $20 or so if you want to change your servers. So with Hostinger, it's actually for free, which is really, really amazing. So that actually brings me to my second point, which is going to be their speed. So they use the newest like Lightspeed server technology, and that really helps them with their speed and load times for the website. So what I basically did was I purchased similar priced hosting plans on GoDaddy, Bluehost, SiteGround, KamiCloud, and I think I also tested HostGator and NameHero as well. So over here for the GoDaddy plan, basically what we did was we installed WordPress on each of the different websites, and then we basically installed a starter template, and then we tested the speed on Pingdom. And instead of just testing one location, I tested actually 7 locations, and I got the average. So the average is around 2.65 for GoDaddy for the deluxe plan. For Bluehost for the Choice Plus plan, it was 1.87. For SiteGround for the Grow Big plan, which is around $5 per month, that's on the first sort of promotional period, I got 1.31 seconds, so that's pretty good. KamiCloud was around 1.5. Now Hostinger, we've got 3 different plans that I tested, which was the single shared plan around 2 seconds. For the premium shared, it was around 1.1 second. So that's really, really fast, and actually faster than their competitors. And for the business shared, it was slightly lower at 1.06 seconds on average. So this is really, really good. So not only are they like the cheapest, but also they are the fastest in terms of shared hosting providers within the same sort of price bracket. Okay, so let's take a look at the dashboard of Hostinger. So Hostinger have actually moved away from cPanel and they've created their own hPanel dashboard. So I know I said, the best thing about Hostinger was the pricing. Now that's only partly true because their dashboard and user experience is one of the best that I've actually used in all hosting providers, even like some of the most expensive ones. So it's very, very easy to navigate and use. So over here, you can click on hosting. And this is basically where you manage your hosting accounts. You also can click on emails, domains, SSL certificates. So all the main things that you need is on the top toolbar. So if you actually compare this to, let's say, GoDaddy, right? You have the GoDaddy sort of dashboard area, and then you have the cPanel dashboard, right? So I feel like, when you click on the cPanel, the design is different and the interface is different. And a lot of things over here, like you don't really need as a beginner, and it can be a little bit confusing and overwhelming. So it is a little bit better for Bluehost because it's a little bit more integrated with HostGator. It's pretty much the same as GoDaddy. I just feel like there's a disconnect. For example, if you want to set up your emails, you have emails over here on the left-hand side, and then you've got the control panel email, right? So if you actually click on emails and offers over here, then it's sort of gonna redirect you to this Google Workspace, which you have to purchase. So when you're actually purchasing HostGator, they say that you have free emails. So it's kind of confusing that, you have to maybe pay for that email, but you can actually just go back over here to your control panel area. So cPanel, okay, if you go to dashboard over here, you can navigate and actually create an email for free. So if you actually just look at, the design over here, and then you click back into the cPanel area, then it's just going to be a little bit different. And I feel like a lot of people actually get confused. Now it's okay if you're sort of used to that, but for beginners, then it's a little bit confusing, right? Because it just looks different. So basically, if we go back to Hostinger, and if you want to manage your hosting account, then we can click on manage like this over here. And then you can manage everything here. So it's a very, very simple dashboard. They only have, the most important things that you need. They also have more advanced options, but it's a little bit more hidden. And it just makes it a lot easier for people to get started. So they've also implemented a really innovative feature, which I haven't seen anywhere else, which is the Boost hosting plan. So if you actually click on that, then it's going to take you over here. So right now I'm currently on the premium shared plan. Now, if I boost it, then I'm going to take the resources of the business shared plan. So instead of 1 CPU core, I get 2 CPU cores. And instead of 1 gigabytes of RAM, I get 1.5. So this is really cool because you can actually boost it once every 30 days for 24 hours for free. So this is really good if you want to maybe do a promotion with an influencer and you expect a ton of traffic. So you probably need more resources for your website so you can actually handle that traffic, then you can boost it, right? Or maybe if you want to upload something quickly, or if you want to test a better plan without any commitment, you can actually do that. So this is really cool, and they don't actually advertise this on the homepage. So it's sort of like a hidden feature. And you can change the server really easily for free once every 30 days as well. And you can control everything here. So you can change your PHP level. Another problem that I found with like Bluehost and HostGator was that changing the PHP, there wasn't the latest version available, like PHP 8.0 and 8.1. It wasn't available on Bluehost or HostGator. And when I actually asked support to do it, it sort of broke my website. So, I think that's, I just feel like they're just not as up to date or innovative as Hostinger. So SiteGround is pretty good because they do also have their own site tools, and they are quite innovative as well. But in terms of cPanel host, I feel like there's always going to be like a slight lag in terms of innovation as well. So over here, if you want to create like your emails, you can click on emails. So it's very, very simple and easy. So you can choose the domain that you want to create your email for. So for example, this one. So click on it. And all you have to do is click on create email accounts, right? Very, very simple. And you can create an email just like in a few clicks. So for example, admin, and put in a password and create, and then you have your email. So this is a little bit different for other hosting providers. For example, if you go to the GoDaddy one, cPanel. And then over here, we have to look for email accounts. So it's a little bit hidden. And again, like the interface looks different. So you're not sure whether or not, is this the real way to create an email account and things like that. But you create one over here. Okay, create. And then we type in, like, for example, sales. And then we can set in a password. And then click on create. And then you have your email address, right? So then if you want to manage it, for example, if you want to connect it with, Gmail or any other sort of email inbox that you manage emails on, you can click on it. And then sort of you have like the details over here, right? Let's see. Okay, so yeah, so it's not as easy to find the things that you need, right? So if you go back over here, right, emails, then if you want to forward your email to Gmail, really easy. Like the names that they've actually named the things, it's just a lot easier to understand, right? Forward. If you want to connect it with Gmail so you can manage everything, you can click on configuration settings and you have all the details like right there in front of you, right? With other hosting providers, you just have to like navigate around. I mean, besides SiteGround, which do have their own site tools, which is also really good as well, the other cPanel host is just going to be a bit harder to manage, right? And we can also click on domains. So if you want to purchase another domain name, you can purchase one on Hostinger, and it's pretty affordable compared to if you were to purchase your domains from other web hosts, which can be a little bit more expensive. Now, it's not going to be as cheap as if you got it from Namecheap.com, which is probably what I do recommend because you also do get free domain privacy, but it's fairly easy to get started over here and easy to transfer your domain as well. And another thing that I found really good is that, if you want to install the SSL certificate, click on the SSL, and very easy to do. You have the lifetime SSL. Now, it's a different story when it comes to like GoDaddy, Bluehost, and HostGator. It's just not as simple in terms of the user experience, right? And if we go to GoDaddy over here, so what happened was I purchased the GoDaddy plan to try like a few weeks ago, and it actually didn't have the SSL included, right, for the plan that I purchased, right? Because I thought I could actually install the Let's Encrypt SSL for free later on, but I couldn't. And only 2 days ago, they implemented free SSL for all the plans. And so I asked the support if I could get that. And then they said, I have the old tier of the plan, so, it's not included. So I would have thought, that would have been like sort of included and upgraded with my plan as well. Because, when things are like digital, you sort of expect like getting free upgrades like within the same plan, but it's not the case. So I feel like, again, it's just not as innovative as, people who have their own dashboard and things like that, right? They've also got a website builder, which is Zyro. So I haven't really used it too much, but you can check that out. And then you've got your billing, and then you've got the store over here. So this is where if you need to purchase the daily backups, then you can actually purchase it here. You can also purchase additional plans over here as well. And over here on the right-hand side is your support, basically your support agent. So you can click on it. Now that's not going to direct you to a support agent directly. So a lot of web hosts have sort of moved away from, when you click on it, then it's directly talking to a support agent. They sort of make you go through a FAQ. So with the FAQ on Hostinger, it's not too bad. It's very easy to actually navigate. They have, most frequently like problems listed over here. So for example, if you want to, transfer your website, you can click on it. And then over here, you can click on the documentation. So Hostinger also have one of the best documentations that I've seen compared to other hosting providers, and it's always up to date. They've also got tutorials as well. And if we go back over here, and then you can either email or you can do live chat support. So I guess one of the negatives of Hostinger is that sometimes the chat support can be unavailable. So only email option is available. And if you just purchase like the normal Hostinger plans, the chat now function, sometimes the response times can be 20 to 30 minutes to get your first reply. So I guess that's one of the negatives of Hostinger, and maybe one of the ways that they're able to save a little bit money in terms of the cost, so that they're able to offer such a competitive pricing on the front end. So what they actually have is in the store over here, right? They've actually got the option to get priority chat support. So basically what the priority chat support is when you actually have it, then you have a little sort of that little crown icon on the chat support, and that basically means that you have priority support, right? So generally from 20 to 30-minute response times is down just to a few minutes. So how much does the priority support actually cost? So it costs around, I think, $2.15 per month. So how they're able to offer such competitive pricing on the front end is maybe that's one of the ways that they're able to do it. They're sort of separated the chat support and priority chat support because that way they're able to offer a really good price for people who don't need instant chat support. And then if you do need it, then you can purchase it. So it's sort of like I would say like a budget airline or something like that. And like with budget airlines, if you want to check in luggage, then you have to pay extra for it. If you want to eat food on the plane or have extra entertainment, you can pay for it. If you don't want it, then you can just sleep on the plane and get to your destination as cheap as possible, right? So I feel like Hostinger is sort of like that in terms of their business model. So yeah, so that's something that you do have to note. And they don't have phone support. So if phone support is something that you really, really value, then the host that I've mentioned before, which is GoDaddy, Bluehost, and HostGator, they do have phone support, okay? So with the chat support, although sometimes it can take a little bit longer, I think the chat support is actually one of, if not the best chat support systems I've actually used. So let's say, for example, I can select, this is the website that I'm having problems with. So maybe like, how can I transfer my website from SiteGround to here? All right. And we're going to click on send message. So I'll show you guys what that basically looks like in terms of the chat support feature. So as you can see, the priority chat support is enabled. And then over here is the chat support system. So you can click over here, and then we have the chat support sort of UI and everything over here. So what you can actually do is you can type the reply. You can also send GIFs, emojis, and send attachments. And later on, when the support agent has gotten in touch, you can actually see a picture of the person. You have their time zone as well. So if you actually compare this to something like GoDaddy, it's just not going to be as good, right? Same thing with Bluehost. So when Bluehost, if you want to click on chat support, you can click on it, and it's sort of, I don't know what it does. It sort of like logs you out of your website or your dashboard area, right? And the login feature is you have to log in again. Okay, and you scroll down over here, and then you contact the contact page, and then you can click on chat now from here, right? So basically when you click on the chat now from here, since we're sort of logged out, then you have to verify your information again. So I really don't like that customer experience. Same thing with HostGator. It pops up in a separate tab, and then you have to verify your details as well. With GoDaddy, so over here, you can click on the contact us on the top, right? And click on chat now like that. And then over here on the right-hand side, it's going to pop up with the GoDaddy guides. So you're not really sure, are you talking to like a real person? Only when you fill in the details a little bit, then you are sort of connected. So it's not instant. So even though like Hostinger have slower response times, their sort of chat system as well as their tonality when they talk to you, I feel it's much better than these other hosts. So SiteGround is pretty good. You click over here. So they do sort of go through like an FAQ thing as well. It's a little bit actually harder to reach the customer support agent as well. So visit the help center, and you have to go through the tutorials before you're able to contact the live chat representative. So over here, same thing, you have to like click on an issue. So maybe let's click on read more. And then, yeah, I don't know. So over here, maybe on the right-hand side. Okay, so over here. And then let's do maybe transfer website, select our website. Yeah, sometimes like depending on what you actually click, you may not be able to, get in touch with the person so easily. So overall, I just really like the chat support system, and I think you're going to find that it's one of the best in the industry. Okay. Another really cool feature on Hostinger is that you're able to manage your plugins in the hPanel area. So when this actually becomes really useful is that sometimes plugins might become outdated and it might break your website and your website goes down. So you can come in here and you can actually disable the plugins directly from here. You don't have to log into your WordPress dashboard. You can also delete it as well if it's causing you issues. So this is really useful because a couple of years ago, I always have the issue where, plugins break, it breaks the website or something like that. And I have to contact the chat support and then they do it from their end. And it just takes like 15 to 20 minutes. It's just like so much waste of a time. You can actually just do this all yourself in your dashboard in a few minutes. So very, very simple and easy to use. So another really cool feature is going to be the staging environment. So what that basically does is it creates a duplicate copy of your live website. For example, my website, hoganchua.com. I'm able to create a staging environment. So it's exact duplicate, and I'm able to make those changes. If you want to update your themes or plugins, I can do that on the staging environment. And then once it's ready, once the website is working and everything's all good to go, I can push those changes to the live website. So this is really useful if you have traffic to your website already, or maybe if you're creating a website for a client, because sometimes, updating things might break your website. And this is a very useful feature, which is only available on the business shared plan and above. For the single and also the premium shared, it's not included, right? So over here on the right-hand side, you can also click on the migrate website. So if you have a current existing website on, let's say, GoDaddy or Bluehost, and you want to migrate your site over, you can do that manually by yourself if you know how to do it with a few plugins, but you can also request a migration from the Hostinger experts as well, so for free. So that is really, really great because then it just takes the stress out of it, especially if you don't know how to do it. You can leave it to the professionals, and yeah. So overall, I really do love Hostinger. It's probably my top recommendation when it comes to shared hosting providers. They have a really great sort of user experience and interface. They have everything that you need on their plans. The pricing is very good. I guess the major downside would be probably the chat response times can be improved, but you can actually get the priority chat support, which is an extra $2 per month. So that's something that you do have to take a note of. And if I was to compare the other shared hosting providers, I would probably pick Hostinger any day. The only other one that I would consider is probably SiteGround. So SiteGround is quite similar in terms of Hostinger for the sort of user experience. They have their own sort of site tools, custom dashboard area, which is really good. The only downside with SiteGround is that it is a little bit more premium in terms of how much it costs, where the things that you get is very similar to what you actually get on Hostinger as well. So if you actually compare it side by side, it's very similar, but everything that you need is included for SiteGround, and it also reflects in the price as well. So for example, if we go on Hostinger over here to maybe their web hosting, and we compare their business plan to the Grow Big plan, and we can click on select. So over here, let's say it is renews at around $25 per month. So 25 times 12 is 300. All right. And for the business shared plan, if you get the 12-month one, it renews at $12 per month, right? It obviously renews at a little bit less if you go for a longer term, so you're able to even save more. But let's just say you get the 12-month one. It's probably not going to be a great deal if you get month to month at all. So let's go to 12 times 12. Right, so at 144, plus if you get the priority chat support, let's say $25 per year, and then that's around $170. So still probably around, half the price of SiteGround, right, for the pretty much the same thing that you get. And in terms of the other ones like GoDaddy and Bluehost and HostGator, I probably wouldn't recommend it because I think, Hostinger and SiteGround is probably like a better option for you guys because of their custom panel area. It's just a lot easier to use, and they're always implementing the latest technologies really quickly compared to these older ones with cPanel. So over here with Hostinger, they do have multiple sort of plans, so it's important that you get the right one for your needs because otherwise you're not going to enjoy it as much. So you can click on hosting up here, They have web hosting, cloud hosting, also WordPress hosting and hosting for agencies. And they've also got VPS hosting, which is like the virtual private server. That's generally for more advanced users who need more control over the server. I personally haven't tested it out yet, so I can't really comment too much on that. But in terms of web hosting and cloud hosting, the main difference is probably going to be the performance. Cloud hosting is going to be a lot better in terms of performance, in terms of speed, as well as, more importantly, the ability to handle more traffic on your website. So if you are an existing business and you want to upgrade to something faster, as well as something that is able to handle a lot of traffic, then cloud hosting is for you. In terms of like the interface and usability, it's pretty much the same as web hosting. It's very simple to use. And for WordPress hosting, it's pretty much the same as web hosting in my opinion. I just feel like there's a lot of hosting companies that have WordPress hosting, but it's like pretty similar in terms of performance. I think the main thing is that, people are typing that on Google and they need to rank for that on Google. So hosting for agencies, I haven't actually tried that, but if you're a web agency, then I probably would recommend something like Cloudways, because you're able to set up individual servers in different locations, starting from around $10 per month. And it's really, really powerful. And I feel like it gives you a lot of control, especially as a web agency. This is probably not for the beginner, because it requires a little bit more of a setup process, and the interface can look a little bit overwhelming, although it's quite easy to set up. I do have a tutorial for that, which you can check out. Now, if you want something that is also fast in terms of website speed, usability, and good interface, as well as really fast customer support, then I would probably recommend WPX hosting, which starts around $25 per month, right? But the chat support is really, really good and really, really fast. They just focused on WordPress hosting for their service. So it's a very simplified version of like the shared hosting providers. So over here, let's take a look at which plan should you actually get. So let's click on web hosting. For the single shared plan, that's only good for one website and one website only. I would only recommend this if you were maybe creating like a portfolio or maybe like a resume type of website you want to show your employer, or maybe creating a website for a friend, or maybe just, testing things out. I would only get that because, it's very, very minimal in terms of what you get. For example, you don't get a free domain, and the speed isn't as good as these two over here. And the price is actually very similar to the premium shared plan, where you do get the free domain as well, and you also get a performance boost. Like you get a lot more resources, okay, you get more RAM and things like that, so that helps in terms of the page load times, right? So for the premium shared hosting plan, I probably recommend it for most people if you want to create like a blog, affiliate marketing, websites, or if you want to create like a small e-commerce type of website or maybe a business website, then you can get the premium shared and you're pretty much good to go. Where you would probably want the business shared is that if you were maybe needing the daily backups, perhaps if you were like a news type of website or e-commerce website that you're always updating, then you may need the daily backups. Then it might be a better option to just get that instead of getting the add-on, which is extra, I think 95 cents per month for the daily backups. You also get the WordPress staging for the business plan, and you get additional resources in terms of website performance as well. So this is probably if you were to maybe create maybe like a e-commerce website with maybe up to maybe a few hundred products. If you were to create something bigger, a website, and you're getting a lot of traffic already, then maybe you might get the cloud hosting plans, right? So again, inside Hostinger, you can always do the website performance boost to maybe test out the plan and see if that's what you need. The good thing about like web hosting is that you can always, upgrade. It's not like a TV where if you buy a TV, then if you want to purchase a new one, then generally you might need to give that TV away or you need to sell it. It's not as easy as web hosting where you can just upgrade it really, really easily. So for example, let's click on select. So again, with the single shared, it's probably not the best deal because on the 12-month and 24-month, you don't really get a discount. For, as you can see on Hostinger, right, the same discount applies for each of the months. The only difference is that the renewal prices are going to cost a little bit more if you go for a shorter term. And I also do have a coupon code. So basically you can type in over here, so Hogan Chua, and that's going to save you a few extra dollars as well if you do apply that. So you're going to save like $12, $11, and then you can go ahead and go through the payment and go through the onboarding process. I'm also going to make a separate tutorial basically showing you how to create the WordPress website on Hostinger, as well as set up your emails and things like that. So I'll link that video below in the description. So that's pretty much it for my full review on Hostinger. Hopefully you found a lot of value in it. If you have any questions, you can drop it in the comments below.